I think we have to ask, has the moment arrived when Donald Trump has finally and openly abandoned Ukraine? On his Truth Social platform, the American president announced Zelensky can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the country, a sentence soaked in menace and moral abdication. The implication is chilling. Capitulate now or be conquered later. This is not a call for diplomacy. It's a thinly veiled ultimatum from the most powerful man in the West to the most embattled. Zelensky's sin, in Trump's eyes, was to reject any peace proposal that recognized Crimea, the peninsula Russia illegally annexed in 2014 as rightfully Russian. Zelensky said bluntly, Ukraine will not recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about. And he's right. There is nothing to talk about when international law is clear. Yet Trump denounced this as inflammatory and very harmful. He then added a falsehood that Ukraine didn't fight for Crimea in 2014, as if history and heroism could be erased with a tap of a touch screen. In truth, Ukraine was militarily overwhelmed. The West stood by, and Russia seized what was not theirs. Trump's response is not just historical revisionism. It's a declaration of values, or more precisely, the absence of them. The so-called peace plan emerging from Trump's circle is not a plan for peace. It's a settlement of surrender for Ukraine, for Europe, for liberal democracy. Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff, Trump's top envoys, boycotted the London Peace Summit today, and instead Witkoff will head to Moscow for his fourth tete-a-tete with Putin in as many months. And what's on the table, according to reports, recognition of Crimea as Russian territory, lifting of all US sanctions since 2014, a murky security guarantee for Ukraine with no specifics, US-Russian economic cooperation, the exclusion of Ukraine from NATO, and as if to add insult to European sovereignty, a nod to Ukraine's right to join the EU, which is, of course, not America's to give. Not one of Trump's 7 proposals mentions Ukraine agency. The peace terms resemble not so much diplomacy as a business transaction done by someone else, a sale of Europe's moral spine. And the abandonment is not just diplomatic, it's strategic. By removing sanctions, by encouraging US investment in Russia, Trump bankrolls the very war machine that threatens Ukraine. The fragile advantage that sanctions provide, economic attrition, isolation, depletion, are demolished. It's no wonder Putin has agreed to a freeze along the front lines. He's not retreating, he's reloading. Crimea and parts of Donbass will become trophies of war, sanctified by American assent. And Ukraine would lose not only land, but its very right to exist as a sovereign state with Western backing. NATO would be gutted of meaning. The liberal order, the brittle architecture built after 1945, would shatter. So where does this leave Europe? Alone, but not powerless. The US has declared its position. It stands with Russia. The question now is whether Europe is willing to stand with Ukraine, truly, painfully, and without illusion. Money, arms, intelligence, sanctuary. These are no longer acts of generosity. These are necessities for European self-preservation. And Zelensky's defiance is not just for Kyiv. It's for Warsaw, for Berlin, for Vilnius, for every capital that knows what happens when imperialism goes unchecked. If Trump's America will not protect those values, Europe must become the shield. History is not subtle at times like these. We are living through one of the loudest chapters. Donald Trump has chosen to side with tyranny and call it peace. His betrayal is not simply of Ukraine, but of everything the West once claimed to defend. Ukraine cannot accept this deal. But whether it declines to or not, the die is cast. America has made its choice under Trump, and now Europe must make its own choice. There are no easy answers. There are no guarantees. But there is one certainty. If Europe yields now, it yields forever. If Europe capitulates to Trump's bullying, that's the definition of Europe.